guys, it's Julie. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the new season of Escape the Night. I've had a couple notes here to kind of help me keep it a little bit shorter because I don't want to ramble on for too terribly long. And there are a few other YouTubers who are doing their best on covering like theories and stuff like that, including Cake Bear and Gwenlanio, I think is how you say it. Um, which has been really interesting to pay attention to those videos, because they use a lot of like screenshots from the episodes and stuff like that. And here's a picture. So I will bring up a couple of those things only just simply because I just recently found out about them, and so I kind of want to make sure they get brought up. First thing I do have to say is that the show is very, very good so far. Um, they did a really good transition from the last episode of season 2 where Joey died, was killed by the sorceress, and then uh brought brought back. Although I do find it interesting that he wakes up in like a world between worlds, um, which, from what it looks like it was the set of Escape Night 3, or the town of Everlock, which is where they are now. Also, I do have to say, I find it incredibly fun that they're in the 70s, because I had part of my childhood in the 70s, and I remember a lot of the fashion and a lot of the clothes and the hair and stuff like that. So seeing everybody decked out in that kind of garb was just like, oh my gosh, flashback, you know. Um, Also, I have to say, once again, Escape the Night has succeeded in making me subscribe to a few people, a few of the guests on the show, including Manny Muya. I'm not exactly sure how you say that last part. But he played the record producer, and I really liked his character. And of course, MatPat was on there, and I followed the game theorist and all that. And of course, Rosanna. Oh my gosh, I love Rosanna. Love Ro. I love her. I got her Nerdy Dummies cookbook. Got it for Christmas or something. Um, anyway, so the first thing I bring up is, I like how this time around they've been giving most of the monsters a backstory. So I found myself being very sympathetic to most of them, because most of them are all just normal people who are in the town who are being picked on or abused or even downright hunted down to be killed, like the man with no name. And of course, the carnival master picks them, because they have issues and they can't fight on their own, and so they're like, and it doesn't really show, it doesn't really waste time with a lot of talking, which I'm glad of, but at the same time it does show how one can be desperate enough to be like, I can't fight on my own, I'm gonna join forces with this guy. But at the same time, it was almost like he kind of gave him a choice, but he didn't. I don't know. I always wonder what would happen if they said no to him, And none of them really said yes, and that was the other thing that I kind of liked. None of them really spoke. None of them were really like, you know, talking or. Sorry, guys, I think that's a solicitation call. Give me a sec. There we go. Says it's from Chicago. And I'm like, I don't know anybody in Chicago, so I don't think it's anybody calling for me. Um, but anyway, so, but yeah, like the snake lady, about the only two so far that didn't really get like a story. Um, well, I would guess adults with knives kind of got a story, but they weren't really real people. I mean, I understand it's all fake. I understand none of them are really real, but it's like in terms of the story, it was almost kind of like maybe Pinocchio uh, was kind of maybe what they were going for, because had the dude who had the doll shop, and he was talking to the two life-size dolls that were like clowns, and he called them his children and stuff. So I wonder if they were going for a Pinocchio thing with that, and having the dolls come to life because they're corrupted by the dude, by the carnival master. And but I don't know. I just found it interesting that I actually felt sorry for a lot of the villains, a lot of the monsters of the show, because, you know, they probably thought they needed, that they needed help, that they needed to join forces, you know, and they probably didn't know he was evil until, boom, until he showed up. But although just looking at the guy, I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, I think you're evil. I think you're probably evil. Um, but anyway, so let's go on. I have to say, the deaths this season have been really shocking. It's been very much, well, I will also tie this in with something else. I found it really interesting that that like in the two past seasons, it didn't really show them showing up at the house. And well, and I've said this before, but I find it interesting that in the first two seasons it was at a house. So you didn't really see them being transported back in time. It was just more of a illusionary effect. They showed up and they were like, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna. See, the first two seasons were kind of more like a traditional murder mystery, I guess you could call it. Murder mystery party, where you show up and you pretend like you're part of that time period and all that. Um, but the third season, I mean, the third season was actually showed each one of the characters, Joey's letter to each of them said, you need to pick a persona, you need to you know, pick a thing. So this one, it was like each person's choice. And I don't know if it was each guest's choice in the first two seasons. Um, so what I find interesting is that number one, they were brought back to the 70s, and they were actually, that they were actually in this little town, and The other thing that I thought was really cool was they had a map, and every time they had an artifact, they found and cleansed an artifact, more stuff would show up on the map. So at first I was like, almost looked like a ghost town with just a few buildings scattered here and there. And then as it opened up, it was like, oh, there's something over here. Oh, there's something over here. We should go investigate. And I really liked that. Um, yeah. So for shocking deaths, I have to say Poor Ro probably is number one in my book, just because. Well, maybe it's not the most shocking death, but it's just that she was pretty much the only girl left, other than Nikita. Um, who I have to admit, I didn't really like Nikita first off when she showed up. I was like, because, I mean, I knew she was playing a role, but at the same time, she was definitely um, mega, like blunt and rude, and if you're gonna vote me in, I'm coming after you, and blah blah blah, and which caused Ro at one point to cry and be all upset because she had voted her in at the time. I also have to say, I've noticed kind of a pattern with the Escape the Night, where it's like at the beginning when there's a whole bunch of them, they do their best to work together, and they kind of split off into groups, and it's like each group does a good job of pretty much a good job of working together. And then toward the middle of the episodes, they kind of tend to turn on each other and kind of tend to be like, you didn't help, or blah 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 blah. And then, of course, toward the end of the night, they, are forced to work together because there's only like, three or four of them there, and so they have to work together. They have to get over whatever they have against each other. Um, I would say probably most shocking death was I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Sophia. It's not traditional spelling of the name, but I think that's how you pronounce it. But she was, what was she? What was her role? I can't really remember. It was kind of like an investigator, but I mean, she did a really good job for the most part. She worked hard, and she, found clues and helped with puzzles and stuff like that. And so, matter of fact, this season, I don't think there was really anybody that slacked off. Like in previous seasons, there have been times where they voted somebody in because, like, you haven't really done anything. This person didn't really do anything. This person was just, like, shouting encouragement from the sidelines or whatever. Or fiddled around while everybody was doing something else. But there really wasn't anything like that this time around. Everybody seemed to work together fairly well for the most part, which probably made this harder and voting for each other harder, because it was just like, oh my gosh, some of these deaths were just like Sophia, as I said. There was a challenge where they had to go into the fun house, and they voted Manny and Nikita to go in. Like, everybody went in. Is like, if you were captured, everybody went in, and if you were captured, you were locked up, and then whoever finished the challenge had to decide who had to go back in and do do a different challenge, or do the challenges but do them under like a time frame kind of thing. And so Sophia voted for Nikita to go in. And there was a little twist. So what happened was with Nikita and Manny, and I didn't know until I watched this season that Nikita and Manny were like best friends. They hang out together a lot and stuff. And so the two of them, and this was like a fun house, but it was like different rooms. And so you could go to different rooms and, and the two of them were in two separate rooms doing challenges, and Nikita was the one to finish first. And Bob broke my heart because I thought somebody was coming after Manny, because Nikita finished first, and she was like, "I'm sorry, Manny!" And it was like, you're expecting the Funhouse guy to show up. But nobody showed up. And so they both came together. They were held under each other. They were hugging each other as they went back up in the elevator, because there was an elevator that took them down to like each room. And so they went back up. There was a little note hanging, and they were like, and then they found out neither of you will die today, but the person who voted in the winning party member is being killed right now. And so, and to go back a little bit, very first episode, the team finds this hidden lounge, which is kind of supposed to be their safe zone. And that was the other thing that was different, because in previous seasons it was all running from room to room and being chased by monsters sometimes, and then you got to a room and you locked the door or you shut the door and it was like they couldn't come in. This was different because you had to be outside, and it was more like outside was the dangerous part. Outside was the part where you were like, oh crap, And so anyway, they ran back to the lounge, and not the carnival master, the funhouse dude, who was the normal guy who had been changed by the carnival master. So he came in, and it was Joey, Ro, Matt, and Sophia. And so he comes in the room, he starts coming up towards him. Everybody's like, "What are you doing? We didn't go on the challenge. Where are?" And he just walks right up to Sophia and kills her. And then just leaves. And so Manny and Nikita come running in. They find Sophia dead, and that's when it came out that, she obviously had been the one to vote Nikita in. And Nikita was like, well, she deserved it. She voted me in now. And it was like, and everybody was like, okay, Oh, and also about this time, they got a note that said that the carnival master had corrupted one of them. So they're thinking one of their group, but they also had two people, who I assume are from the Society of Evil, who were helping them. And one of them was a guy named Mortimer, and the other one was a kind of a gypsy type lady named Calliope. So Calliope usually ended up being the one who did the cards, when they voted. She shuffled them up and drew whoever was going in. Mortimer was a dummy, and he decided to mess with one of the artifacts. And it was actually revealed that he knew about the carnival master because it was revealed in the, and I like how they did like the flashbacks, like every time an episode started they would show a flashback of that week's monster becoming the monster. And with the funhouse dude, it was this guy who was an insurance salesman, and he wasn't doing well, and his wife was just really mean, and it turned out that he'd been abused by his mom, and so he, of course, followed it and married the same kind of woman who treated him badly and abused him and treated him like crap and all that. And so she was like, and so, he was on his way back home after not succeeding in selling anything, and he saw, and this was the other thing, the carnival master normally skulked around in like nighttime, and it's like hardly anybody saw him except for the people who he picked, who he chose to become monsters. Um, but but this time he was out in broad daylight, setting up his funhouse tent, and he approached the insurance salesman, you know, and was whispering sweet nothings in his ear, basically going, I can give you power, no one will make fun of you, no one will hurt you, you know. And then he let him look into the artifact, which was one of those spinny, hypnotizing things, and changed him. Well, it was revealed in the flashback that Mortimer not only saw the carnival master, but he maybe saw what happened to the insurance salesman, or he at least saw that the insurance salesman was talking to the carnival master. So at this point, you're kind of like going, why didn't he say anything? Why didn't he try to stop? You know, especially considering how the theory is, and I don't know if it's been proven, but the theory is that in every season the gang gets at least one person from the Society of Evil to help them out. To and sometimes it's I can't even think of who it was in season. I don't know if Allison was the daughter of the head vampire. I don't know if she was one, but there were a few that like helped them out over the episodes, and I believe this one was Mortimer and Calliope. And Mortimer was messing around with one of the artifacts and got corrupted. And so he was like, and it was really interesting actually, because they did a good job of making it subtle, because they didn't really show until the very episode that like he disappeared for a while after he got corrupted, but they didn't say where he'd gone. They didn't show him like shuffling off toward the church that the carnival master had taken over and stuff. And so it was interesting, because so what Mortimer ended up doing was was sneaking around when the gang wasn't around and taking the artifacts and putting them in the church. And so at the end of last night's episode, the carnival man, he was like encased in crystal or something, waiting to be released. And as soon as all the artifacts were in place, he came out And so he was like, and one thing I found really interesting is he was wearing this big jewel on his clothes, and there was something said, and I can't remember who said it, if it was Carnival Master, if somebody else said it, but it's like your friends will live again, or your friends will, or no, Joey said it. Joey said it because he said as soon as he saw that jewel, he knew that if he had that jewel, that all his friends would come back. Does that mean in every season? And bringing into that, apparently, Joey, there's an Escape the Night Twitter, which I haven't gotten followed yet, but that's okay. But apparently, Joey posted a picture on Twitter of the season 1 house with the caption, "How did I end up back here?" Now, this is what I personally think. I don't know if this is true or not. But what I personally think is that it's going to come around full circle. Like, they are going to have to go back to the season 1 house. That they didn't get everything done. Because if you remember in season 1, Joey didn't give up the deed to the house. He didn't destroy it. He decided to hang on to it for his own. Ergo, it might be safe to say that the people in the that they may need to go back to the season 1 house, or may need to go back to season 1 and redo some things. So my question about that is, are the people who are going to survive season 3, are they going to go back there, go back to season 1 and help, share what they know, and then help turn the tide? It would be interesting if they did that, especially if they did on the first night when they lost Shane. Because Shane was originally supposed to be he was the very first member of the Society Against Evil. He had come to the house to try and stop whatever was going on. So that would be interesting. So let's see. Oh yeah, and the other thing I wrote down is all guests coming back. And some of the other people who do theories on Escape the Night have brought this up too. The possibility of the guests coming back. And there's been thoughts on, because at the end of this last episode, the Carnival Master, well, not only did he kill Mortimer and Calliope, but he brought he brought zombies out. And they, of course, started chasing the people who were left, which is Joey, Matt, and Nikita. And that was the other thing. Matt had originally died during the Strongman episode. Matt had died, but the gang had found this box, which was called the Lazarus box. Gee, I wonder what that's going to be used for, And so they had to find 2 coins with the Society of Evil insignia on them. Society Against Evil. I keep saying that the wrong way, I'm sorry. But the Society Against Evil logo on them. So they eventually found the 2 coins. They dropped them onto the box. It opened, and out comes a harp and a note. And the note says, strum on the harp 3 times and say the name of the person you want. And of course, I love that they leave it on a cliffhanger because it was Joey and Sophia did it together. They strummed the heart, and of course, it stopped right before they said the name. And everyone in the comments of like the videos are like, it's gotta be Matt Pat. It's gotta be Matt Pat, you know? And sure enough, it was Matt Pat. And so I thought that was interesting, you know, because Matt's character was a detective, you know, no surprise there. But you know, he was really good when it came to solving puzzles and plotting things and, you know, being like, okay, you know, we gotta split up. You guys go over here, we'll go over here, you know, we'll meet back up at the lounge, you know, that kind of thing. And I also like that this season there was a lot more capturing. So it wasn't so much if you were caught, you died, as in the 2 previous seasons. Seemed to be a lot of if you were caught, or if you know, not just if you failed the challenge, but if you were caught, you died. Um, Season 2 especially, there were not as many instances of guests being captured. Um, but I liked this one because they tied it in really good, especially with like the funhouse thing, where how it worked is they would go down. Everybody went down, but they would go down like 2 at a time, and they would come out into there were like 3, 4 rooms, and they would go out into certain rooms and do the challenge in there. Well, while maybe 2 people were in one room doing one challenge, 2 people would be in another room doing another challenge, and they would come across a clue that they would need in a book. Well, here's the other thing. They had a certain amount of time to do these challenges, otherwise they would get caught. And so after so long, they would have to run back, either go to another room or go completely back up to the surface. And every once in a while, the funhouse guy would spin a dial, it would pick a room, and he would go down into that room, and you would have to hide. And if he found you, he would like catch like one person at a time or whatever, and drag them out and lock them up in like this big pen thing. Well, at the end of the challenge, the people who had finished the challenge had to pick who they wanted to go back in and do the ending challenge, the death challenge. And so I thought that was really interesting. I liked how or like in this past episode, where it was the monsters were witches, and they were the only ones that we really didn't get a backstory for, other than the fact that they had horns on their foreheads, much like the carnival master did. So I basically assumed that they came from the same place that he did. So what I found really interesting was that the witches didn't really have like a backstory, other than one of them hung out in the graveyard seducing guys, and poor Joey, he was picked to be the person to go out and let her attempt to seduce him. And he's like, there's a problem, I'm gay. And so poor dude, he was just like, no, and had to go out there and distract the one witch while they did other things, while the rest of his group completed parts of the challenge, and so they eventually got out of there. But that was when where Ro died, and poor Ro, I felt so bad for her because I don't know what it is about these challenges, but a lot of them seem to involve ingesting or sticking your hands into really gross substances. And it's just like, a poor Ro, it was like they had challenges in a row, and of course, the last one to, she couldn't even get past the first one, which was a witch's brew, and I don't know what was in those things, but she couldn't do it. She just couldn't drink any of that. I hate to think of what it tasted like or what was in it. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't anything that would have harmed anyone because it's all fake stuff, but at the same time, it's just like, like one of their first challenges, Ro and Matt had to stick their hands into a toilet with, like, look like poo, floating around in there and stuff. And it's just like, ew! Me, I wouldn't last 2 seconds on that show, probably. I would love the challenges, I would love the mysteries and trying to figure that out. But I'll be in the lounge reading through all the stuff we got and trying to figure this out. But I think that would lead to me being. Um, but yeah, so basically, I'm wondering if um, if they're going to be going back to season 1. Either season 1 altogether, or at least the season 1 house. I wonder if it's going to end with, because the third season started with the Society Against Evil telling Joey, you need to save this town, but your friends are going to have to die. And in the past, I thought she meant all his friends. And so he was like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to survive. And then here comes this giant stone, and Joey just blurts this out in his thoughts, and it's like, if I get my hands on that stone, all of my friends can come back. And it's like, all your friends? From every season? Everyone comes back? And maybe that's why they have to go back to the season 1 house. Is to either finish things up there. He's got to burn that deed somehow, unless he's lost it somewhere or something. But maybe that's what they have to do. Maybe they have to go back to where it all began. So anyway, that's my thought. So I am very excited to see what happens, and apparently the next episode is supposed to be the finale, and I can't believe it just seems like it just went like that. It's been really interesting. Like I said, I've subscribed to a couple more YouTube channels because it's like I find some of these people very interesting, and I'm just like, oh, that's curious, and I want to see what they have to offer. So, but yeah, I don't know how to end these things. I just basically think that they're probably going to end up at season 1 because they need to finish something there. They need to either burn the deed, or they need to maybe bring everything back to the right, to where they need to be. Maybe Joey needs to go back to season 1 and be like, I want to undo all of this and, bring everybody back. Now, the other thought that other people have had is that it's very possible that the zombies that the carnival master brought up and that end up with them chasing the remaining guests is that the characters who have died in previous seasons, as well as died before this point, um, it could be possible that they came back as zombies. So, and it was interesting because people have been texting or tweeting at Joey on the escape tonight, and something about Colleen, because Colleen was, and it's like every episode there's a person who everybody chooses to kill because he or she is like speaking out against certain people or speaking out against Joey. In season 1, it was Glozell. I think it's Glozell. I don't remember who it was in season 2, but season 3 was Colleen. Season 3, it was kind of a little bit out of the blue. As far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong. This is just my opinion, but it just seemed like out of the blue, she was just like, I don't trust Joey. I don't trust what you're saying. And it was the episode where the truth finally came out. Up until that point, Joey had been like, we need to save this town. We're going on an adventure. We need to, protect the people and all that. And it's like, Anglo, and, and so Colleen all of a sudden was just like, no, Joey, I don't trust a word you say. You're lying, and all that, and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh boy, and sure enough, everybody decides to, to vote her. Almost everybody decides to vote her in, and they have to put her in. Oh gosh, it almost looked like an Egyptian mummy's tomb, but it had like sharp spikes along. And I've seen it before. I cannot think of what they call it, but they use them in history. They've used them in the past. But yeah, you just put somebody in there, shut it, and the spikes, It's basically a torturous, long, drawn out death, unless you happen to get a spike that goes right, And even then, I'm sure it hurts like crap for a bit. But yeah, they put Colleen in there. And oh! Wait a minute. It wasn't Glozell. Although Glozell was against Joey. The first season was Justine. Because there was this one challenge where it ended up they rescued one person from being buried alive, and then they had to put somebody else in the coffin. They had to basically trade. And they voted for Justine, and poor Justine was just like, no, I don't want to go. And it's like, I don't blame her. closed in space like that and freaky, and I wouldn't mind being there for a minute. And so they ended up grabbing her and dragging her and putting her in and everything. And same thing with Colleen. They end up dragging her and she's begging and just being like, please don't, and it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't, I didn't mean what I said about Joey and stuff. And it's just like, mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's season 3, at least as far as we've gotten up to. Um, Again, really good show. I really recommend, if you guys can get on YouTube Red, to watch it because it's really good. And I honestly think you guys should probably start with season 1. I don't think it takes very long. The episodes are not very long at all. And so I don't think it'd take very long to watch all of them. But anyway, I'm really curious to see what happens in the finale, to see if any of these zombies are past guests, or even in this season, or, or if the gem is really, because it's like the way Joey said it. I don't know. I don't know if Joey meant, oh crap, he can bring our friends back to life. But at the same time, there was a bit more hope in how he said it. So I don't know if there's a way of... And there is this clip from the trailer, which we haven't seen yet, where Joey has the jewel in his hand. So we do know, unless things change greatly from when they took the trailer out, or if they decided to do things a little bit different, we do know that Joey gets the gem. What he does with it, I don't know. And I don't know what he means by all his friends. Does he mean everybody in every season? Does he mean just the people who died in season 3? Does he have a chance to undo what he's gotten involved in? And so I'm just really curious to see what happens in the last... I'm assuming it's the last episode. So anyway, that's my little spiel at you. I feel it probably went on a little bit longer than I would have liked, but when I get started rambling, it's just like... Anyway, I'm gonna go continue to do laundry and try and get some more writing done. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Hope you guys are having a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.